Hello, Lord Mountbatten. Thank you for sitting with me today. I want to begin with the most controversial decision of your viceroyalty. You advanced the British exit from June 1948 to August 1947, 10 months earlier than planned. Critics say this risk caused the chaos of partition.
Hmm.
Do you stand by your timeline, or do your hearts cost millions of the lives?
What I believe is I stand by my timeline because the alternative was a civil war before British left. When I arrived in March 1947, the Indian civil services were collapsing. The army was fracturing along the communal lines. My military advisors told me we had perhaps 9 months of effective British authority remaining. If we waited till June 1948, we would not have an orderly transfer, which would have resulted in anarchy. Also, some of your historians, like historian Yasmin Khan, has documented how administration was in a state of terminal decline. So, yes, I admit that I rushed, but to delay was a risk of a bloodbath before independence, not after.
But you have also said something else. In a recorded interview, you called Muhammad Ali Jinnah a lunatic, a psychopathic case. You admitted that had you known that he was dying with tuberculosis, you might have delayed the partition. Does this not prove you made a momentary decision without knowing the full truth?
I believe it proves I was a human and I was a bit arrogant. Jinnah was a legislative genius, but by 1947, he was refusing every compromise. If I had known, like he had only 1 year to live, I would have played that time. I would have said, Congress, wait, let nature take its course. A united India under Nehru and Gandhi, with Jinnah gone, might have been possible, but no one told me. Not his doctor, not his closest associates, right? Stanley Woolpert argues that Jinnah's death was one of the unpredictable event that could have changed the outcome, and I was blind to it. Did I make a monumental decision without full knowledge? Yes. The burden of governance, you act with the information you have, not the information you wish you had.
Okay, let me ask you about Mahatma Gandhi. He begged you to let Jinnah form a government instead of dividing India. He offered Jinnah the prime ministership of a united India. You dismissed him. Why did you ignore the one man who could have kept India united?
I dismissed him, and it was one of the deepest regrets of my political life. But let me explain you why. Gandhi was the moral compass of India, but by 1947, he was no longer the political general. He didn't understand that Jinnah didn't wanted to form a government. He wanted to break the possibility of a united one. If I had let Jinnah become prime minister, he would have paralyzed the government. He would have proven that Muslims could not live under Hindu domination. We would have ended up with partition a year later or so. But with the added chaos of a failed central government, I believed partition was lesser evil. I told Gandhi he was dreaming. In truth, I was too cynical to try his dream. History has not forgotten or forgiven what I have done.
Okay, let's talk about the border. The Red Cliff Line was drawn by a man who had never set a foot in India before July 1947. Finalized 2 days after independence, Kashmir remained a wound for 80 years later. What responsibility do you bear for this?
I bear responsibility for the haste. Sir Redcliffe had 5 weeks to do a job that would have taken 5 months. He walked from census data maps and not from the land itself, right? But let me be clear, Radcliffe was appointed with the agreement of both Nehru and Jinnah. They approved him personally. Now, Kashmir. When Pakistan backed tribesmen invaded in October 1947, the Maharaja appealed to India for help. I flew the Indian army in. I thought it was I thought I was preventing a genocide. Instead, I froze a conflict. Ian Teblot and Gurpal Singh have written that improvised has have written that the improvised nature of the boundary commissions guaranteed that boundary disputes would have become enduring source of conflicts, prioritized the speed of British exit over the durability of border. That, I admit, was my mistake.
This brings me to a fundamental question about your role. Were you truly the architecture of the partition, or you were simply executing the plan London has already decided upon before you arrived?
Now, that is a question that lets me sleep at night occasionally. When I left London, the cabinet had approved what we called Plan Balkan, power transfer to 11 or more successor states. A balkanized India. I showed this to Nehru in Shimla. He spent the night in a rage. The next morning, my constitutional advisor, VP Menon, presented an alternative. Two, domino- two dominoes, India and Pakistan. I recognized its merits and pushed it. So, was I architect? No. I was presented with a solution and I chose it. The British Empire had already spent 200 years dividing India. I merely signed the divorce papers.
Final question, Lord Mountbatten. If you could return to April 1947 with what you know now, the violence, the refugee crisis, the wars, the million of lives lost, what would you do differently? And would history judge you more kindly?
I would not have been so certain, certainty is enemy of history. First, I would delay the transfer by 6 months, not an year. The empire was dying, but enough time to let Redcliffe walk the land he was dividing, right? Second, I would not have given the princes a choice. Kashmir and Hyderabad should have been forced into India from the start with international guarantees. Third, I would have listened to Gandhi. I would have let Jinnah try to form a government and fail. I was obsessed with the mechanics of transfer that I lost sight of morality of unity. Would India judge me more kindly? History judges results, not intentions. I gave India and Pakistan freedom. I also gave them birthright for blood. For that I am damned. I was the man who was holding a knife when the surgery was performed. I was the patient. I knew the patient would die if we did nothing. I didn't realize my I didn't realize that the patient would be crippled by my haste. Do I stand by every decision? No. I stand accountable for them, and that is a different thing entirely. So, thank you for your interview and time. I much appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Lord Mountbatten, for your time. Have a good day ahead.